Hello, and welcome to the DCIFF Film Chat Podcast. I'm Erin DeVos, and I'll be your host for this season. Join us for insightful interviews that explore the work of up-and-coming independent filmmakers from all over the world. If you're passionate about film and keen to learning about the creative process from the future cinema greats, this podcast is a must-listen for you. Our mission is to provide listeners with the engaging and informative conversations about successful and innovative films, including features, shorts, documentaries, animation, and web series from across the globe. The DCIFF Film Chat Podcast is a unique opportunity for independent filmmakers to have their voices heard in a way no other film festival can provide. You can listen to the DCIFF Film Chat Podcast on all podcast platforms or visit our website at DCIFF-indie.org/DCIFF-podcast. Thank you. Hello, and welcome to the DCIFF Film Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Erin DeVos, bringing you another episode from DCIFF 2024. And the filmmaker I'm introducing you to is Sarah Temkin, and she is the filmmaker of 1001 Cuts. And I'll tell you a little bit about the film before we dive into our episode. But since 2023, half of medical students in the US have been women, and women remain in the minority in most surgical fields, but their portion is increasing. Leadership and culture in surgery remain disproportionately and persistently male, despite ample evidence that women are just as good and possibly better at delivering care. Systematic barriers to success for women surgeons must be confronted and addressed for the surgical workforce to stay healthy and for patients to stay safe. In the film 1001 Cuts, they interviewed dozens of surgeons who are women about their experiences, hopes, and dreams in careers. This is a group of extraordinary, dedicated physicians who work every day to improve the health and lives of others despite untold challenges. And I look forward to sharing this episode with you because we identify some of those challenges and talking about today's modern issues. And I think this is a really good conversation to really dive deep. And even though it may be short, it is a great episode to be able to learn more about the film and the message that Sarah is trying to share. So let's dive in. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us on the DCIFF Film Chat Podcast. It's now day 4 of our film festival. And just been really excited to meet with you and to talk about your film, 1001 Cuts.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So for those who are not familiar with you, do you mind sharing a little bit about yourself as a filmmaker and your film?
Sure. So I'm a first-time filmmaker, and the idea of this really came from my own lived experience. I am a physician and a surgeon. I went to medical school in the 1990s when women were really discouraged from entering surgical fields. Probably a lot of it was implicit, but also there was a lot of comments about how that's not really something to do. And I didn't have a physician in my family, and I didn't really know what to make of that. And since I was interested in surgical fields, got sort of directed towards obstetrics and gynecology. But within the field of obstetrics and gynecology, I ultimately became a cancer surgeon for women. And I think having chosen a field that was dedicated to the health of women, and being a woman myself, I was really surprised during my career and over my career about some of the discrimination and really frank sexism within the world of surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So when I stopped practicing in 2020, during the pandemic, I have an old friend who is a filmmaker who encouraged me to tell this story through film. I think he thought that it would be really amazing to see these images of women being so strong and brave and courageous in the operating room. And so that really was how I got started on this project.
Wow. That's super moving because not only through your profession and what you do, but also to be able to tell the story, especially what's happened within like women's rights over the past few years alone. It's just made me think about what's next for us ultimately. So I feel like in a way, like you address on that issue, surgical procedures and such, like more than just abortion. Are there other procedures that you mentioned in the film?
We didn't focus on any
Mm.
specific procedure, and we have a really diverse cast
Mhm.
of women who are surgeons in various fields like orthopedic surgery, plastic surgery, colorectal surgery, because I think we didn't really want to focus on a specific field, but rather the culture of the operating room and how really dangerous it is if women are not respected or valued as members of the workforce.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, thank you for that. Within the film and the complexities of like, the different surgeries and such, what was that like filming?
So it was really kind of interesting to film because for two reasons. One, I wasn't practicing anymore, so I didn't really have access to a lot of operating room environments. And also, we started the project during COVID. So it was very, very difficult to get access to operating rooms or hospitals to even bring a camera person in. So I think we were extraordinarily lucky. We had one person in the film, Allison Wells, who owns her own surgery center. So she let us film there one day. And we actually, because there's so little stock footage of women acting as surgeons. Like when you look for stock footage of surgery, it's almost always men that are operating. So we actually crowdsourced a lot of our B-roll. There were, I think, hundreds. I mean, I have like hundreds of photos that people just sent me to use in the film, being like, here, this is like a picture of me at work, or here's a video of me walking through the doors in the operating room. And so that was how we ultimately overcame that barrier.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's so great that many, in the community had offered to be a part of this as well, especially since it's such an intimate type of experience. And I know you mentioned that this is your first film. Are you looking to expand on your documentary and go into doing other films?
I am keeping an open mind.
That's what I love to hear.
I was a cancer surgeon for over 20 years, so I think I sometimes may underestimate challenges. And when I first started working on the film, I was like, how hard can this be? I'll be done in a few months. And that was not exactly the case. We spent about a little more than 3 years from the start of the project until having a final version that we felt comfortable sharing. So this film was really very personal for me because of my own experience, and also because just of the number of people that reached out to me when they heard that I was making a film. Like there were periods of time where I was getting 2 and 3 phone calls a week, like, can I talk to you? Can I give you material? And so I'm not sure that I have all that material left for a next film, but this was really an incredible experience and responsibility, I think, to tell this story to the world.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because in a way, I just even how you're describing it, it feels like it could be a series in that way. So, but, like that's exciting that it's your first one and to be able to, just to share it.
Yeah, I feel a lot of weight from all of the people that shared their stories with me also, that I wanted to tell it fairly and respectfully. And also, it was really important to me that none of these women looked like victims, that they were all really so strong in doing their work so courageously, really every day, going into, work environments that are really not built for women.
Hmm. Definitely, which brings me to ask, seeing the kind of like the challenges within the industry itself and knowing the different types of stories that we want to express ourselves as women, do you feel that there is opportunities continuously out there to share, or how do you feel the industry is changing?
I welcome the experience of sharing my perspective. I think, this story started about to be a story. When it started, we started making a film about women who were surgeons. However, I think a lot of it, and hearing the themes that women brought up in our interviews with them, the story changed over time. And it was really, I think, a story about my generation of women. We grew up being told you can do everything that boys can do. You're just as smart as the boys. You're just as hardworking as the boys. And as we grew into those roles, because we were the first generation of women who had equal access to education. And so the world didn't change for us, I guess. And so, I hope some of that comes through in the film as well.
Yeah. Is there any questions too, or anything that you want to share about the film?
There were two things, and I think one of them really made it into the film, about the built environment not being made for women, and how that really layers upon other problems. I think when people think about equity for women or gender equity, they just automatically think about sexual harassment. And although there are lots of stories about sexual harassment, and we heard just really terrible stories like that, most women are so resilient and strong and can overcome those things. However, it's not just one event that leads women to leave a profession or their workplace or be dissatisfied or burn out. It's just a series of very small things where they're not fitting into the environment and don't feel like they belong. And over, a decade and a half of a career, or, when I was a young surgeon, I thought I loved surgery so much. I thought I would die in the operating room when I turned 90, just to think about that. And when I reflect on having left my own career, I really want to emphasize that it's not just about having a skill or being strong. It's just about having an environment where you're set up for success.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that was really
Really answered your question.
It did, yeah, because it touches on the question I was trying to ask was, what was the key message that you want the audience to take away from it?
So even from the title, we called the film 1001 Cuts, because just that one event that ruins someone's career or takes a physician out of the workplace, it's a series of small events that feel like death by 1,000 cuts, that it's just a series of small events that lead women to leave the workplace.
Yeah.
But we added the one at the end as a nod to Arabian Nights and Scheherazade, because she saved her life through storytelling. So I think we thought that we wanted to be hopeful about a future where people can talk about their experiences in an open way, and we can have a conversation about how to create workplaces that are equitable and fair for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's well said, and I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for meeting with us today. Or where can we follow you along your journey?
Yeah, we're on Instagram is our main social media, and we're at 1001 cuts_film.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll follow you there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by the DCIFF supporters. We could not be here without all of you to be sharing this amazing outlet with filmmakers from around the world. If you are interested in supporting DCIFF, head on over to our website through the link description in the bio of this episode, or you can go right to the website, which is DCIFF-INDIE.org, to connect with us and learn more about our Future of Film programs, our festival, and also more educational opportunities in what we do with our high school students, community, and beyond. We look forward to your support.